Hello and welcome for Game 4 of the day, the last one of the weekend here. CLG versus Immortals, where both teams really want to be ending this first week on a high note.
Yep, both of these teams starting out stumbling. Both of them projected to have pretty rough starts to the split, considering what the lineups that they're running come out of spring. So I think both of them have improvements on the mind. For CLG,
For sure.
my main improvements that I want to see from them is do a better job tracking your opponents, keeping track of the jungler, keeping track of the top laner, the roams. The communication really seemed to not be there, and they were punished very heavily in their opener, actually getting perfect game. And from Immortals, for them, I want them to clean up their skirmishing first and foremost. A couple of the 2v2s, a lot of the 3v3s, and their fights around mid lane. If they're able to execute those a bit better, then they could set up for their objectives, but that's step number one.
For me, one of the interesting things about these two teams, because a lot of people had these two teams projected to be towards the bottom of Summer Split, but it's for different reasons, because CLG didn't change anything about the roster from spring, and in spring they performed abysmal. And the changes that Immortals made have actually really rocked fans' faith, especially switching out Smithy in the jungle, bringing Potluck in instead, Apollo and Hakuo not playing in the bottom lane. Then even when we saw them in Academy earlier this week, they honestly didn't do a great job. And so there's just kind of different criticisms for both of, like, polar opposite criticisms for both of them, but perfectly valid for both of these squads as well. And I just want to see them fix all these problems. There's a lot of problems for both these teams, man. This isn't something where it's like, oh, there's just one thing holding us back and we want to zero in on it and figure out what that is. We got to solve the mystery. There's a bunch of holes to plug up. Just start plugging. Make sure that you got this stuff getting better week after week. Start off with a win here. Let's see it.
All right, well,
rant
into
over.
the champ select.
Let's see what we got.
We got a Velios. He's picked up a bucket. He's trying to
he's got a bucket.
overboard.
He's bailing the water out.
He's doing his part here. I'll take with the Aphelios. We talked about a lot of the pros in the last game. Obviously, it's going to be a big positive scaling threat from the bottom side of the map. But again, when we have these ban phases that are lopsided for jungle, where the Graves is banned out, Trundle is left up, that's a very quick early round pick here for CLG, for Wiggly. It's one of the champions that he has actually been better on and hasn't had such a hard time.
Let's see what else they want to go with here in this first round. What's it going to be, CLG? You already know what 80 carry you're going to go up against. You would expect to potentially see an 80 carry pick here. Looks like we will. Misfortune hovered, Misfortune locked in.
Even with the Ezreal available here, they're looking for a bigger AoE for their team fight. And Misfortune definitely getting a decent amount of respect in LPL, and a sprinkling in LEC, I believe, as well. Still has strong lane phase, should be able to get some push here against the Aphelios. And then, of course, I'm always looking for things that you get to combo with a Misfortune ultimate, so those should come next in the CLG draft. Meanwhile, on the Immortals side, Potluck. Let me tell you, I was actually surprised that Immortals chose Graves first game for Potluck, because every Academy jungler that I talked to, first thing they told me when they're like, oh, Potluck's in the LCS now? Well, watch out for his Lee Sin, because he is pretty much Lee Sin and then like drops like 3 tiers to other jungle champions. Lee Sin is his most excellent and most known iconic champion here, so I'm excited that we get to see LCS Potluck Lee Sin, because even in their opening game, I thought he was one of their best players as the new guy on the block, playing that Graves in their opener, even though they lost. And now he's on his most closely associated champ.
Always like to see people on those comfort picks, especially in a situation like he's in right now, stepping up to this bigger stage, has to still get used to playing against opponents of a higher caliber. Give him that thing that he can fall back on. Give him that bread and butter pick. As we're also going to see the Ornn locked in here for Immortals, for some of that scaling power, some of that engage potential there in the top lane. And the response from CLG is to put Ruin on the Aatrox.
All right, another Aatrox versus Ornn in the top side. We have seen that for a long time here. CLG also, of course, have the Trundle ultimate ready for later in the fights, trying to shred through the Ornn, but Looks like Immortals drafting a pretty standard front to back for themselves, and CLG will be able to do more of the same with a little added element of the Misfortune AoE. So let's see what they can ban out and whittle down on the mid lane here. There's still so much available. The Zoe and the Orianna are two pretty high priority ones left up. I would say first thing to take out is the Zoe from the side of Immortals. Zoe's a really good blind pick. So
Zoe's one of those champions that just, if she pops off, your entire League of Legends experience becomes always being scared every time you have to peek around a corner or look into the fog of war or walk anywhere close to something that's not in your base, because you know there's always going to be a bubble or a paddle star flying at you from somewhere. The Zoe will not be banned here so far. Instead, they're going to focus on some hyper-scaling power there in the Azir that's banned away by CLG. One more ban left to go. Immortals, what is it going to be? Will we see a Zoe ban?
So to me, it depends on if they are going to try and utilize the global mid laners. We do get the Zoe ban. Happy to see that. Now it's up to Galio and Twisted Fate. For my preferences, I love playing those champions right now, especially the Galio with your minion dematerializers. Twisted Fate also very good, obviously, at trying to push the wave and help out the side lanes. I think that would be highly beneficial for them to try and blind right now, because it's not going to get punished super hard.
Well, Nautilus picked up. Braum hovered. We got to see Braum work with Aphelios in the previous game. Turns out it was able to do some pretty good work. And we're going to see it again here this time around, except obviously different people piloting the champions. Can all Tech and Gate do the same thing that Tactical and Core JJ were able to do, winning some of those 2v2s, surviving and scaling up? We will find out, as the Orianna will also be picked up here in that mid lane.
Okay, so it's a full standard team fight from Immortals.
Yes,
Front
sir.
to back, they've got a little element of surprise from Potluck Lee Sin. Hoping to see big things from that to see what the reputation is all about. Other than that, though, yeah, they've got a bunch of Wombo. Obviously, Orianna Shockwave, Ornn, and Braum setting it up. And there's the spice. I like it.
Okay. All right, Diana locked in here for the side of CLG. This is one of those champions. Diana's always been one of the most interesting champions to me, because I feel like, I don't know if you feel the same about this, but she's one of the few champs in League of Legends that every time I play against her, she either does negative damage, and I just wonder, wait, how are you even in the game? You don't hurt any of the other champions. Or she shows up and I'm dead before I can see her character model. So
yeah,
she just has so much pop-off potential. If she gets ahead, she can snowball the entire game and delete everyone. But if she falls behind, things are going to get rough.
And as a jungler, Flowers, I know that your next step of reaction, when you have that view of a champion, your next step is, whether I'm on the team of that champion or against the team of that champion, you're going to have some presence around the lane, right?
Oh, yeah.
Diana always attracts lots of ganks and lots of fights over control wards. So we will see them trying to muscle for position there. Now, for me, one of the frustrating things with the rework to Diana is that she is more tanky with some of the changes that they made, you know, switching the R around and giving her the extra shield on the suckback. She's very good at setting up AoE, which we mentioned with the MF. So it fits really nicely into the CLG lineup here. And Poe Belter is definitely the guy to pilot it. Poe Belter, to me, is the star of this team. Them having brought him in, he's definitely a big leader in game as well, trying to bring some of his little bit of coaching experience. And now he's on the champion that definitely can set up some of those AoE wombos.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen at home, Kobe's talking about a champion attracting ganks. That doesn't just mean from the enemy trying to shut him down. We're going to pretend like we didn't see that hook. That
emote.
What are we talking about? Yeah, you gotta play it off. Now that we've got the emotes, you have to do a facepalm or something. Come on, Smoothie. Come on. Where's the emote game? See, we got to give them like a couple of weeks to get used to this, because pro players are not used to being able to do this in pro games yet.
True.
So we have to let them get their emote mechanics up to a professional level. The point that I was making is, remember that if you're the jungler for the champion that gets ganked a lot, it's your job to make sure you're counter ganking him too.
Exactly. And Trundle is very good at that. It's really hard for a Trundle to have a lot of offensive presence against an Orianna that has phase rush, because phase rush you can proc it very easily, and then the Trundle Pillar doesn't really do anything because you get your slow resistance and a big boost of move speed for the phase rush champion. But if you can just get that small knockback of the pillar in time to set up the Diana for the all-in, that's where you get a little bit of pressure, right? So trying to get some pressure for the lane. For the Diana player, they're always looking to hit that level 6 so they can have their threat of the all-in and really make use of the bigger damage output and the AoE.
Once again, in this game, going to be a similar story to what we saw in the previous one, where although one team does have Ornn, he is the lone mega tank on that squad, so the Trundle ulti target's going to be pretty much predetermined before any fight even starts. If Ornn is there, Trundle needs to be ulting Ornn. We'll see how that plays out as we move forward. Smoothie going in right as they hit the level 2. Here for CLG, allows them to get a good trade onto Gate, gets him down to half HP as they continue to maintain control of this lane, shove that minion wave up underneath the turret. I like the fact that Smoothie wanted to go in there. That's honestly just good control over what's going on, knowing that you were going to level up, knowing you had minion advantage, not to at that point, as Aka and Pobelter both find their level 2 marks here in the mid lane, but not really any trading with these.
Yep, and it looks like we have a top-down clear for Potluck on the Lee Sin. He's actually saving the smite charge as well. So we'll see if he gets to try and punish Stixxay and Smoothie, who are pretty far pushed up on the bottom side. There are 2 routes for him to try and get over behind them, and not enough trinket wards for the bottom lane to save themselves from that. So with Glow Scuttles spawning, we'll see if the mid lane confrontation results in any summoner spell. Looks like Trundle's on him.
Everybody's collapsing here in the mid lane. Wiggly forced to flash out as Potluck shows up to make sure that CLG can't make this gank work, and that went wonderfully in the favor of Immortals. You can see Potluck trying to predict which crab Trundle's going to go to, because if you predict the crabs correctly, you can end up double crabbing him, but Wiggly will manage to make his way to the other end instead, and it looks like he's going to make something happen down here in the bottom lane. Look for the ganks. Smoothie once again making the plays happen with the dredge line, but a nice flash away is going to ensure Gate survives. CLG will not be finding a kill here just yet, and it's actually Alltech turning around with some damage of his own, putting some pain on the CLG health bar.
So that's pretty interesting, because in the end it is going to be a double scuttle crab for Potluck, but because he made the choice to walk back through minion vision lane to the top one, Wiggly knew he had a route to either taking the bottom crab or going for the gank, and he does expend that choice to go for the gank. I'd say that the Trundle now is going to be pretty far behind in experience. Potluck should be able to hold his level lead and hold his pressure. And the cost of that is the flash on Gate. Personally, as the jungler, I think you need to be more selfish at these early stages of the game and not trade the extra camp and experience for just a flash on the enemy support. But, oh, well, yeah.
Potluck's going in, but has he gone in too far? 200 HP, forced to walk away now. Gate could also be in some danger, but Immortals will get everybody out. I like the bloodlust in this man's eyes as his mind's telling him no, but his body, Kobe, his body is telling him yes as he takes that resonating strike in. Won't be able to find the kill. But
it
now
looks like
we'll
his mind is telling him yes. His mind is telling him yes again.
Let's see if they can do it here in the mid lane. Pobelter being dove on, looking to turn things around. Potluck grabs the first blood, and Aka will tank the turret long enough to make sure the aggro does not switch. Immortals get on the scoreboard first.
His heart is telling him yes, his mind is telling him yes, and his team is telling him yes. That is the important part here, because it takes nerves of steel to walk up to the Diana under the tower. Aka says, I got the tower aggro. Don't worry. You can go for the execution now. Potluck waits his time until the tower is securely onto Aka. And then they're able to finish off the Diana. Pobelter can't burst down Potluck because he's not at that critical level 6 yet. And it's a successful dive for Immortals. I like the focus, and they continue on, not just with the attempt on dive on bottom, but making the play mid. CLG do pull this dragon, but It's been a successful reset for Immortals. I wonder if they even try and get a possible steal. Potluck still has flash. Might be too late.
Steal this one away. Sonic Wave hits. No resonating strike. Dragon gonna partially reset, but not all the way. Should be a free break there. The smite did not rain true. It actually got the Drake down to about 13, so there was steal potential there, but it didn't happen anyway. Drake for CLG, but they are still down about 1,000 gold, thanks to the farm differences so far in the game and that first blood that Immortals was able to get. And hey, you said in Champ Select you wanted to see Immortals clean up some of the skirmishing, right? Well, I consider a 3v1 dive a skirmish because it's not a team fight. That was clean.
Definitely true. So they get a gold star for the first few minutes. Yeah, so he obviously doesn't go in to try and steal because there's so much CC in the pit. CLG group everybody up on the objective. They don't want to let that mid lane dive go unanswered. They get something back for themselves, grabbing this Cloud Dragon. In itself, it's not a super huge power boost, but it does set up for possible continuation here down on the bottom side as they go for the blue buff phase.
See if CLG is able to stop this steal. Wiggly can smite if nothing else. Yeah, there we go. Potluck with the early smite to try to get it low enough for Aka to steal it away, but not knowing that Wiggly was in the brush there makes it easy for Wiggly to steal that one back. Of course, you do still get a minor win there if you are Immortals because you did stop the blue from going onto the Diana, so you at least keep it away from the ideal target. So Wiggly at least still getting gold and EXP for that one as Pobelter makes his way towards the top side, looking for the dive onto Soaz and Ornn. Soaz flashing, trying to get himself away. Looking to outplay here.
Oh.
Ruin, though, the healing from the Triumph will barely keep him alive.
Yeah, with the ultimate on there for Ruin. He was going, on the last tower shot. He does flash and the tower shot hits, but because the healing came in just in time, does not die to it. And CLG actually answering back with a successful dive of their own. So, bottom side, let's see how this actually turns out.
Here it comes, Crescendum and Severum. That is the 2v2 setup, my friend. If you see those icons next to Aphelios' name, go the hell home. You do not want anything to do with this.
Yeah, Altec and Gate with a successful move for themselves. This is another area of the Immortals roster that people had question marks on. I know most of the focus for everybody was WTF, why Xfithy out here? What, who is Potluck? What's going on with these switches? But Hakuo was also a pretty big sign for them in the bottom lane, and it was pretty surprising for him not to be in there for the starting roster in summer. And this is kind of the first big move for Altec and Gate. I think in the first game, they definitely struggled. So a lot more life on this side this time around.
Ruin also having that kill under his belt will put him in a spot where hopefully he can continue controlling this lane against the Ornn that he does want to make sure he stays ahead of the curve on, so the Ornn doesn't just get to the point where he tanks up everything and doesn't care any longer. Let's see if he can keep that flowing now as Altec has made his way to the top side. Gate will be soon to follow, and things are going to be flip-flopped here as the top and bottom lane switch around. Smoothie immediately making his way up to this top side too. Stixay will be joining him very shortly. The farm between those bottom laners still relatively even. It'll be almost completely caught up by the time Stixay farms underneath this turret. Biggest farm differences in this game so far are there in the mid lane, where Aka has used the fact that he's a ranged champion against a melee champion, and the fact that he had a 3-man dive go in his favor earlier to build up a small lead for us.
They're going to force as soon as they see Ornn bottom. Yeah, Ornn shows bottom and Ruin is still top side, so this is a numbers advantage for CLG. They should force on this objective because if they don't, Soaz should be able to get a free push there. 5 members of CLG will be able to get this Rift Herald and cash in on some turret plates. Soaz recalls first, no teleport for either top laner, and that is going to be the big cost.
We saw Potluck also having to use the flash there. Smoothie threatening the engage there with the dredge line means that Potluck will no longer have the ability to use that flash for initiation potential of his own. So one less tool in the roster of Immortals as they try to move forward and look to make things happen in this game. Still only 3 kills, 11 minutes in. Sort of anybody's game to take control and steer where they want it to go. We've got the next Drake spawning here in about 25 seconds. Gate goes for the flash engage with the Winter's Bite. Does not connect. Stixay doesn't even have to use any summoner spells to get away. Gate just didn't have the aim. Smoothie once again going to find the dredge line on not the intended target. And now that Potluck has made his way into the top side, it is going to be a full-on 3v3. And by a 3v3, I mean a beatdown. Soaz makes his way into the top side now as well. The Orn Horn has sounded off, and the appearance of Pobelter at the very back end of the fight prevents the dive onto Stixay, but it is still a 2-for-0 play coming out of Immortals.
I'm going to need to see that replay in slow motion because I believe Gate casted the Braum ultimate. You can see the animation, him jumping into the air. Yep. And then Stixay starts channeling the MF ultimate and gets hit by the tip of it, which instantly cancels it. Regardless, the aftermath means since teleport top from Soaz to get those kills, Ruin's going to make them pay with some turret plates down bottom, and Dragon is back up. So the timings for Immortals here, even though they make the play, they get the kills, they actually don't line up for the objectives. Again, it's going to be a situation where 5 members of CLG, bottom half of the map around the objective, only 4 members of Immortals, since Soaz on the Orn just used teleport and committed himself to the top side. Rift Herald's also used for CLG, so it's 5 members plus the Rift Herald taking down outer turret and setting up the Dragon.
First turret gold over to CLG. Drake could also be going their way pretty swiftly here. Potluck does have opportunity to steal. Ward dropped over the wall. We'll see that Drake is down to about 2k. Potluck now walking around in the river. This should give CLG the opportunity to secure it. There you go. And that is a 2-0 Drake lead for Counter Logic Gaming. There was Gate's failed initiation, and here's the rest of it.
Yeah, Stixay making good use of the extra move speed that MF gets passively off of her W there. Nice dodge from him. Smoothie hooks right into a minion to start off, but it doesn't matter because Nala says R. So he gets that. Now, let's slow-mo this. Yeah, Stixay.
Yup.
The Braum ultimate was already cast. And Gate gets a nice tipper on him.
That's unlucky.
Yeah, that's one word for it. Soaz does arrive, and he's able to bowl him down with that ultimate. So you know they do get the 2 kills. But again, it does come at a cost of objectives. CLG strikes back, and they do pick up the second Dragon. So starting the Dragon stacking and a possible threat on a pretty early Dragon Soul. Not sure if it's... oh, yeah, it is Ocean, because the Ocean's already showing right now. So
yeah,
gonna be, again, the most prized soul of them all. And Immortals with the gold lead, but CLG with the Dragon lead.
Ocean Soul's so fun because it makes everybody that much more dedicated to securing the Drakes and stopping their opponents from doing so. You see like a Cloud Soul or something, sometimes you're like, you know what? I'm not worried about it.
But unless
Ocean
you got like
Soul,
Zillion or Echo on your team or something.
Yeah, but not with Ocean Soul, man. Nobody looks at Ocean Soul and goes, no big deal. Everybody wants to fight over this stupid thing. And that just makes the games much more fun to watch.
Honestly, I feel like everyone's reaction to Ocean Soul should also be, let's build our healing reduction early, because you're always going to get value.
You are talking about a video game community that half the time still won't buy Executioner's Calling against Vlad. You think they're going to do it for an Ocean Soul when it's only on 2 Drakes?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. League of Legends player base as a whole, we've gotten better about buying Executioner's Calling and the Sinner's Book, but there's still a long way to go before healing is properly shut down.
All right, well, there's 2 minutes, 45 seconds to go on even the 3rd Dragon to set up the possibility of an Ocean Soul. So we've got plenty of time here. Currently, Orianna's still trying to stack up the Seraphar, Ake in the mid lane, and everybody behind Ruin.
And he escaped, though. He's got the 4-man collapse coming after him. World Ender is engaged. He's trying to TP. Oh, the Sonic Wave, the kick, the interruption, and now Ruin's not only going to die, he's going to die and lose that massive TP cooldown for it. Altex is going to be gifted the kill. He can walk right up to him point blank just to make sure he cleans it up as quickly as possible with the crescendums. Easy money for the AD carry.
All right, another little bit of a timing issue there for Ruin. Goes down and loses the teleport. Let's see, Immortals, they've got a power play now because Soaz was already pushing bottom side. So you've got an extra 30-second lead here where Soaz is going to get into secondary turret. Top side turret's already hurt. Poe Belter's going all in on Aka, and they do trade the flash.
Flash used there for no summoner spells from Poe Belter. Free pickup for the side of CLG. Maybe that means they will have the opportunity to dive onto Aka more easily in the next big fight. That Drake spawning in 90 seconds will likely be that situation. And with the top lane turret falling, you're now seeing Immortals approaching a nearly 3,000 gold lead. Lots of money building up for these guys. And remember, the Ornn level 11 now, once he gets to level 13, that's when you're going to see that gold lead be increased even more than it already looks by him getting those upgrades, having that extra huge amount of stats on the Sunfire Cape when it's upgraded, on the subsequent items when they're updated. Normally, the Ornn players will go for the Abyssal Mask. We'll see if he does that or something else.
Looks like we got two parties coming over here to the Rift Trail. Brush acquired.
Oh, baby. They want a party. Let's see what they got.
When two parties are planning on partying in the same house.
That's a mega party.
And it's Shelly's house. she's hosting.
Oh, dude, I hope Shelly's parents don't come home early because this place is going to get trashed.
Well, it looks like this time around they actually have
parties got canceled.
Yeah, they've got teleport advantage for Immortals. Ruin would have to walk all the way up. So it looks like they've got the keys, and Immortals will take this one this time around. Dragon coming up in 15 seconds. Let's see about the transition. Because they're running right down there, it's going to be a burn fight.
All right, well, the first party got canceled. It just kind of turned into a Bible study instead. Let's see what happens in the bottom side river here now as Gate is on the front line, leading the charge here for Immortals. Killer to disengage as the rest of the team tries to catch up. Turret will fall there in the mid lane. Immortals claiming their third outer turret of the game. Now they're also on to the Drake. CLG wouldn't want to give this one away, but I don't think they have any say in it. And Immortals will stop their opponent's Drake stacking for now.
Yeah, really good rotation there from Immortals. They basically sweep the map. You get Riptailed and Dragon in exchange for Poe Belter just solo pushing one tower. That's pretty good as that one was already a little bit weak, so they're pretty happy with the mid-say of this game. You've got your flat penetration on Orianna. Aka is set up for a very powerful... let's see if this turns into anything. Nice little sweep there from Pogue.
Whoa. Soaz wants to go for this all the way into 1v1 me bro land. See if he can secure the kill. Volcanic Rupture coming out, damage going down. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1v1 power of the tank, bruiser, assassin, enchanter, support, frontliner, backliner, burst, DPS, mage, Ornn. Cannot be underestimated.
And he's not done here. Altec now, the other multi-classer in the game. Aphelios looking to burn an extra summoner spell off Smoothie.
Almost getting the kill, unfortunately. Not close enough, so Smoothie walks away from that one. But Altec is still just incredibly scary on this Aphelios. 3-0-1. Has the Infinity Edge, working towards the Hurricane for even more on-hit gun effects once the team fights roll around. Aka will continue pushing up here in this top side, just making sure that Immortals are applying as much pressure to the map in every possible place. You can see they're also putting these wards down in between top lane and mid lane. This is the advantage they've bought themselves by making sure they have all three of those outer turrets gone. They can move up more safely, set down this vision, and look for these picks.
All right, so Flowers, we have yet to see the CLG Wombo, which in Champ Selects is set up as a Nautilus ultimate with a Diana engage over an MF ultimate. That's a huge amount of AoE damage. The Diana Moonfall gets more damage the more people you hit. So if Nautilus is able to get a good dredge line and Diana can get over there to pull them together, that's a perfect grouping and kind of dream scenario and something that you can pull off when you're down in gold. Their problem is, since they're losing so much territory, you start to see the extra vision creeping in for Immortals, who are doing a very good job of rotating Soaz. Once again, now he's got his teleport back up slightly on Ruins, and they've got the extra advantage in setting up.
CLG still keeping the game close enough to contest, though. Remember, although both these teams did start off with a loss in their first game of the split. Immortals' was much closer than CLG's was. CLG literally getting perfect games in their opening summer split game. So just the fact that they're keeping this game within winnable distance feels a lot better than that, right? Like, nobody wants to go into the start of the split, get perfect game, but they're not letting it get to them as much. They're not letting it be this thing that's going to define them. They're just 10,000 gold behind at 20 minutes and everything's doomed. I like the fact that they're keeping it close enough to win, and you already mentioned the Wombo win condition. Even if you're down that much gold, you can still make things happen. I still remember the 2017 Worlds groups game between EDG and SKT, where SKT's down 10,000 gold, but they have Rakan and they have Orianna, and they wombo combo it, and they come back and they win because they land the wombo properly. It's all about that combo if they can make it happen. And right now they're putting a ton of damage down into Altec. He's forced to flash away. Pobelter's coming around from the flank, looking to make some moves happen as Ruins also close the distance. And ladies and gentlemen, CLG have found themselves a team fight. Smoothie's going to be taken low, but it's Soaz taken down. Ruin now falls on the back end of things, but it's Gate who's likely going to drop here next. He manages to barely get away thanks to the flash, but that is still a 3-for-1, and the remaining members of Immortals are in no condition to fight. It's CLG heading towards the Baron.
Looking for another pick there. The Trundle Pillar, not enough since Braum can just jump over to Aka. They were thinking about starting up that Baron because that was such a big window for them, but it's a little bit too delayed there with the extra check. And death timers at 22.5 minutes, not quite long enough right now. But man, Flowers, the word's not even out of your mouth talking about the comeback team fight. And SKT had a big thanks to Wolf for that engage to start out. This one for CLG was the look from Smoothie. He is able to combine the Nautilus hook with Wiggly's Trundle Pillar. If you looked at it closely, Wiggly was able to Trundle Pillar, knock Altec a little bit closer and into the Nautilus hook, basically, that was cast at the same time. And that's how they got the big burst of damage onto Altec and the lead in the team fight. You know, then being cleaned up as Pobelter was able to get in there. In the aftermath, though, even getting hyped up for those kills, they're unable to get any objectives. No rush onto the Baron because Ruin actually went down in the tower shot. And then Immortals getting back out first to the Rift, getting the second Ocean Dragon.
2 Ocean Drakes now, tying up that total Elemental Drake count between the teams. If this one goes the distance, we might see it come down to who ends up getting the soul. We'll have to see. That's still pretty far off into the future, though. I am going to be keeping eyes on this Baron pit. As we move forward, both of these teams have plenty of damage, plenty of ability to take this down if they get the couple of picks that they need. Right now, the top laners are taking up their positions here in this bottom lane, but critically, it's Ruin who has the TP, Soaz who's still missing his for about half the cooldown. So while these guys are in this position, it is map advantage for CLG, who are also building more advantages for themselves by taking the mid lane tier 1.
Yeah, opening up the middle of the map is definitely critical for them. They're also trying to get vision over the Baron, so they don't let Immortals sneak it away. Anytime you're facing an Aphelios and you lose track of his guns, all of a sudden, oh, we've got the Severum plus the Crescendum, and the Chakrams do their work on that objective, poof, it's gone. So always have to keep some vision there. Meanwhile, looking at some of the items, we talked about early healing cutting. And I do actually like Aka finishing the Morella Nomicon here, even though, you know, it comes under fire a lot, since they're looking at Trundle and Aatrox, both of which have lots of healing, and it's a Death Dance Aatrox, plus the Soul is going to be Ocean, so there is potential for healing there as well. Definitely will get use out of that. See, yeah, that's not it.
Yeah. Oh, hey, they got the flash. They got the flash. Stixxay did need to flash there in order to make sure that he was going to be safe from the Ornn horn. So consider that a win if you're Immortals. You wait for the Ornn ulti cooldown to come back up, and then you try it again.
All right, Potluck opening up an opportunity here. Stixxay, yeah, we'll have no summoners for the setup. Scuttlecrab is going to be around the Baron as well, so that would be very big at getting you some guaranteed vision, since they can't actually walk in there right now. Now it looks like Wiggly will be able to get it before Potluck even gets near. So CLG are going to be able to retain their vision control around the Baron.
Oh, CLG showing they can still keep themselves in this game, getting themselves to a point where they're honestly just slightly ahead in gold, and by slightly I mean I'm pretty sure it's less than 100. Really not a lead to be speaking of, but it does mean a lot considering they were 3,000 gold behind earlier. This game is now anybody's to take, and it's all going to come down to execution, which is exactly what I said I wanted to see back in Champions Select. I said there's so many holes in each of these ships. It's not just one little thing here or one little thing there for both of these teams to fix. There's a lot of things. The whole cohesive unit of these teams has to level up. And one of the best ways to do that is be challenged in different ways throughout the game. So now that they've both reached this point where, hey, we're 26 minutes in, everything's established. This is the team fighting part of the game. Now we get to see who's the better team fighter. Now we're going to get to see who fixed that part of the ship up properly, who had the bigger bucket of water to get things back into sailing shape.
All right, I think the call from Immortals should be to delay because they have very critical timers coming up. Flash on Aka and Altec are both synced, and they only have to delay another 30 seconds, in which time there's not going to be a spawn of the Ocean Dragon. They've got an extra minute there, so as long as they didn't get baited into some sort of Baron fight while they didn't have vision on it, I think they're going to feel really good. Big flash advantages because 6 days is still going to be down, and Altec has everything available. Potluck might get a little bit of a hit.
Boy, Smoothie's starting things off with the CC. 6A firing off the bullet time. Altec's in a pretty bad spot here, but a good stopwatch will keep him alive for a moment. Flashing over the wall, but it will not be enough. Ladies and gentlemen, the notorious POB into the back lines, onto the carries, and right through the heart of Immortals. These guys are just eviscerated, and CLG find yet another fight.
I am just saying, as long as Immortals
And now
don't
they're just going to hit the orange pinata for like the next 3 minutes. It takes forever to get up.
As long as they don't fight right now, they're going to have this big advantage. CLG catch Immortals red-handed, and Immortals actually pin themselves up against the Raptor pit wall. CLG take full advantage there. They smash through the Immortals roster. They will be the ones to get the Baron. They can even reset here. Ocean Dragon has 10 seconds left on it, but with Baron-empowered recalls, you get to immediately zoom back to the fountain, spend your cash, and get out to contest the third dragon as well. Look at that pincer. The Trundle Pillar locks them in. The Nautilus ultimate pins them against this wall. 6A starts off with a big damage advantage with the NF ultimate. And then Altec is just so screwed in there up against
he's gone, bro.
the corner. And CLG just used the terrain to their advantage. What a catch. Immortals really kind of corral themselves into a really bad spot there. And if we get back to live, that's going to be, I would assume, CLG also establishing their position after Baron-empowered recalls over the Dragon. They already took it. So you don't even have to play any sort of guessing game. They were easily able to reset, and now with the Baron plus acquiring Ocean Soul Point for themselves, we try and push.
These last two fights have really turned things on their head here for CLG in the best kind of way. But let's see if they can keep it going strong all the way to the Nexus. They currently have plus 1,400 from the Baron power play, which is less than what killing Baron is worth, so haven't done a whole lot yet with that buff, and we're going to see if Immortals are able to punish before they can. Potluck with the flash of the wall, keeping himself alive, but Wiggly's able to find the kill. Poe Belter in the back line here yet again. It does not matter how much damage you do if you're dead every single fight, and Poe Belter is making sure that Altec is seeing grayscale as soon as these 5v5s break out. It's a 4-for-0 for CLG, and they're on the victory march down bottom lane.
Back-to-back successful team fights for CLG. The first one, Ruin gets a big flank on the Aatrox. Smoothie's able to pin them against the wall. They take that one and earn the Baron. Then, when Potluck and Immortals try and get a flank of their own, it gets turned around on them. Burned down. He actually died because Wiggly's Trundle ultimate was still on him, even though he jumped into the Dragon Pit. And since Baron is on, CLG immediately will reap the rewards. Inhibitor down.
Man, they must have heard me saying that the Baron power play wasn't too impressive, because just like that, it goes from 1,400 to 5,000, and CLG's lead becomes 7K. Let's take another look at the fight.
Okay, so top of your screen, Potluck is flanking around. They know that Ruin is showing top side, so they have time before teleport comes in. He kicks back Smoothie instead of Stixay. If that was Stixay, then this would have been a different fight. It might have still been recoverable by CLG, but it would have been 10 times better for Immortals than kicking back a Nautilus that has a stone plate. So really close models right there, and I know Nautilus has a very big model, but since Stixay was not the one to get kicked back, he got to live very easily. They turned the kill onto Potluck. Smoothie just pops his stone plate. He's happy to be in the fray in the middle as Nautilus doing his job, and they hooked him in.
Yeah, I mean, if he's the one who takes all the fire with that stone plate, hey, perfect, fantastic. Kick him 900 different times. It's exactly what CLG wants. Because Stixay on this Misfortune, 10 out of 12 kill participation, still 0 deaths, maximum possible bounty, has Bloodthirster, Infinity Edge, and Essence Reaver, an absolute powerhouse in these team fights. And couple that with Pobelter, who, as I said, every single time has exactly the target selection he needs. He's always jumping onto Altec, then immediately turning to just whoever is vulnerable near him, really controlling this Aphelios and stopping him from having another montage moment.
Okay, it just got a whole lot more difficult for Immortals. CLG knocking at the door with super minions flooding through bottom. They actually start channeling recalls, so it might be a reset and looking at the Ocean Soul. We're only a minute and 25 seconds left on it. So 3 more waves of pressure they have to set up for it, and they might want to grab the Scuttle first.
Oh, that Ocean Soul. Immortals feeling so bad about this situation they found themselves in, man. When you've lost the past 2, 3, 4 fights, and things just seem to constantly be working against you, and now you're at a situation where you have to leave the base, take this fight in open ground, 7,000 gold down. It's gonna take a lot for Immortals to get out of this one okay. But then again, last game, we saw Team Liquid in a situation where they were under the threat of potentially giving away an Ocean Soul. They ended up finding a play around the Baron pit. It gave them the Baron. It stopped the Soul stacking for at least a moment. Of course, their opponents then did get it shortly thereafter. But there's always an opportunity. There's always a chance.
Yeah.
We saw it last game. Immortals might be able to do it here, but they're going to need some pretty sick wombo combo potential of their own. A nice horn into a big shockwave. The spells have got to land on value targets, and they have to take Stixay out.
You know what I tell myself at moments like this? Well,
What's that?
If my team, if we are Immortals, and I'm like, you know what? We made some big blunders in the last 2 team fights. If our team can make those blunders,
So
their
can
team
they.
can make blunders too. So
Yeah.
maybe there's a blunder here from the other side. They're going to do it at the Dragon, 5k health. Potluck looking for the steal. This is going to be the fight.
Potluck needs to stop this to remove the Ocean Soul from their opponents, but he won't be able to do it, and Pobelter once again onto Altec. In the stasis he goes. Shockwave gonna keep Altec alive, but only a moment longer. Ruin now flying forward, looking for Aka. Gates just going to be slammed in the middle of all 5 CLG players, and now they're on to Soaz as well. He won't be able to stand even as the tanky Ornn. It does not matter. It's Ocean Soul for CLG. It's the team fight for CLG. And ladies and gentlemen, that has got to be the game for CLG.
Yep, back-to-back team fight victories for Counter Logic Gaming. And they go from being perfect gamed in their first set to a victory here against Immortals in under 35 minutes.
CLG bouncing back here on the last game of week number 1. Game 1 for them. This summer split was ugly. Burn the bod ugly. And then they came back in this game. Things were a little bit rocky. They kept it within winnable reach. And off the back of some really good fighting, some good initiations, and some good usage of the tools that they drafted being used in the way that they drafted them for, they found a win. And I think that they should be really proud of the difference between this game and the game that was previously played.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a foundation to build on.
Yep.
They had a terrible spring. They had a terrible opener. But again, you have to start somewhere. Really good win for them here to try and build on for the future. And we'll see what they can actually do in summer.
And at the same time, for Immortals, things were going good for quite a while there. It's just the whole thing just unraveled a bit as they got towards that point where Poe Belter was able to dive onto Altec, kill him every single time. They just couldn't get the fights that they wanted. It was CLG that came out on top. So we'll see if they're able to continue improving things in their own departments and find some wins of their own as we move forward. But after the break, join the analysts for the Bud Light Breakdown, where they will close out the first week of the LCS Summer Split. Stick around.
Fun to drive wherever you go. The first ever CR-V hybrid with all-wheel drive standard. The best-selling CUV over the last decade now comes as a hybrid from Honda.
Hello and welcome to the Bud Light Breakdown, where we're talking Immortals versus CLG. Both teams came into this day hungry for a win, and it would be CLG that comes out on top due to a couple well-played late-game team fights.
Ooh, I knew this would be a good one. Oh, man. It was fun because the fights that you got from CLG were fights that no other game could you find an AD positioned in between all 5 members of the enemy. Watch this position, right? CLG literally flanking the bottom lane in the most beautiful of positions. And how did they end up there? Well, that was the mystery that the whole game unfolded.
I mean, the CLG had this kind of, 1-3-1 comp that's going to look for flanks with the Aatrox and Diana. You saw it there. Soaz was at the back of the fight trying to protect his Orianna. It's also the fault of his team for being too far forward. But the actual flanking position was giving a lot of troubles to Immortals over the course of that game. There was another one in mid lane earlier, where you called out Crumbs, that it was just a massive hook by Nautilus to set it up. So all game long, once it came to team fighting, CLG were much cleaner at executing.
Yeah, this seemed like a really weird understanding from Immortals on how to play their composition. If you can see right here, like they're trying to engage on this split grouping right now. What it does is it opens up their backline for Diana just to get in. Aatrox is a TP, like not even that far, but he's already in the backline. And when you have an outscaling mid laner and an outscaling AD carry, you want to fight when they're in vision in front of you, because they can't always be at the flanks. They're usually going to give up some kind of pressure to do that. So this was a really weird understanding on how to teamfight from Immortals, and it was really good by CLG to actually sit in those positions and be able to get to the backline.
Yeah, in case you were wondering, TSM slapped Dig Around earlier in the day in Game 1. There you can see, came away with the win. But in this one, CLG was definitely made to fight for it. And I think I don't want to minimize the importance of the win, while recognizing that, yes, it was over Immortals and it wasn't necessarily the easiest of wins. We have to realize that CLG only picked up 3 in spring. And so with an opening weekend to go 1-1, I think that's going to do a lot for both mentality, momentum, and confidence moving forward.
It does, and I think the big learning is that they very quickly shored up what was an abysmal composition yesterday to actually playing something that gives a lot of their players a very clear understanding of how to actually play the fights. And it was clear, like what Prolly was saying, that Immortals just did not know what to do. You'd want to have the Lee Sin kick away the Diana or kick away the Aatrox instead of trying to get anybody into your lineup. So as long as CLG continues to pick these very simple to execute compositions, and you can sort of bank on the enemy to not execute on their part, they're going to find a lot more than 3 wins this split.
I have to just quickly shout out the I really like the Bud Light breakdown look, the after dark look. I just realized it. I wasn't looking before.
Yeah, man, we got new digs. We got a set for everything, my friend. But Prolly, I didn't mean to cut you off there. You had something to throw in after Crumbs.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, so I do like this kind of style if they can play it properly. I do want them to recognize the weaknesses that it has. When Immortals was able to dive them mid lane, that was because Diana's like no real wave clear. She's like not that strong early game, so she's getting pushed in and they can dive it for free because they lost so much jungle pressure earlier in the game. So if they want to pick this kind of like, well, we're gonna 1-3-1 team fight, it's like they have to hold on to the early game a lot better than that, because usually if a Diana's behind, like that's never gonna be the winning team with a like 0-2 Diana or something like that. So I think this was a bit of an anomaly, and like clap, you guys got your win, but you got to fight a lot harder.
I think that's a totally fair assessment, and to a degree where I was going with that idea of like it's good to get the win, but it is against Immortals, who due to preseason expectations wasn't expected to be necessarily a top tier team. So the real question is, what learnings do CLG take from this to roll forward? The one thing I will point out that might be analogous is that we had that Diana pick come out for Pobelter, and it did have that bit of agency that you're talking about, Crumbs, and to me that harkens to Demonte and Golden Guardians, one of the only other teams that is really looking for innovative and interesting picks for their mid laner specifically.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like when we saw the draft, it looked like Pobelter was a player in the regular season last split that really liked to play champions like Victor. So I thought, okay, you could just go Victor here and you could do a lot. But the fact that he went into the Diana just shows us that he might have been a little bit frustrated with how the game got out of his hands in the first game that CLG had yesterday. So giving him the Diana might just give us a little bit more of Pobelter's unorthodox champion pool. We didn't get to see him play a full split in spring, so I think it's fair to say that we still don't actually know what kind of player Pobelter is going to be right now with the Diana pick and the fact that he did take that break before coming back into mid lane. So I think we could see a player that has a lot more up his sleeve than we previously thought.
As compared to spring, a much better start for CLG here, but that game will conclude our Sunday and opening weekend of the LCS. With that, we are proud to continue partnering with MasterCard on the Player of the Week, which celebrates outstanding player achievement in the LCS. Now, we're working on bringing back the Player of the Week statues next season, and for the Summer Split, MasterCard will be offering 2,800 RP to 15 fans who make correct predictions each week on who the Player of the Week will be. With all that out of the way, though, it's time to reveal our very first Player of the Week. And this week's MasterCard Player of the Week is Jizuke.
I mean, he had absolutely dominating performances. Slapped Ryomo around for the first one. You see this huge double kill going on. His Corki was so aggressive, always flashing in, splitting people up with the package. It was really impressive.
He also had the perfect game against CLG that does a lot to
Yeah.
for his stats. But the thing that made the CLG game more impressive, I think, was the fact that he was playing Twisted Fate and was legitimately playing TF in a very scary way, finding the pressure and being able to assist the silence in a very aggressive way. So before in spring, Jizuke's champion pool was thinking, okay, maybe it's somewhat limited, but when he can pop off, it's really exciting. Now we're adding a lot more champions, and now he's looking like one of the best mid laners in the league. And honestly, I don't know if anybody can contest him right now. He's looking really solid.
You have to remember, that was a blind pick TF. So if you like add into the way like the Monte's been picking and stuff like that, the way Niski's picking, the amount of mid laners that are becoming a lot more viable right now, like he actually has a lot more assassins that he can play this split than he could have in spring. So I'm pretty excited to see what he pulls out.
Let's go ahead and check in on those standings coming out of week 1, see where each of our teams have fallen. No surprise that Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses sitting atop the table at 2-0, but Team Liquid, probably the surprise of the week with their hot start, 2-0 as well, a share of first. We got a slew of teams at 1-1, and then 3 teams bringing up the rear at 0-2. From here, I'm going to roll us forward to our schedule for next week. And Crumbs, I am super excited, as you just brought up Jizuke, and when will we see him challenge? We're looking at Friday night's games, which has CLG versus Golden Guardians and Immortals versus TSM, but I'm going to point to that Saturday, June 20th, where Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses are going at it in that third slot of the day.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that would be the one for me to say, where does Jizuke land exactly? Because it would be against Niski, and Niski's style just doesn't seem to really care too much about mid lane, as we've already seen. So what is that going to mean for Svenskeren? Is it going to be the same treatment that Meteos got when you just have to deal with a jungler that has everybody else backing him up? And if Jizuke can bust out a Twisted Fate and also assist with that, or just bully Niski in lane, if he can even do that, then we really have a strong race for the best mid laner in the top. And the fact that Jizuke started when he came into the LCS, you're like, what's going on? This guy's running it down to all the way like, oh my god, he's the main carrier of Evil Genius. He's just giving Yumi and giving him shields and he'll deliver. It has just been a very exciting transition of a player.
Yeah, admittedly, we changed our tune on Jizuke quite quickly, and I'm glad to say that we have done so because he has been stepping up in a big way. Now, that's going to do it from us here. We would like to thank all of our partners this summer and give a special shout-out to Elgato for absolutely decking us out, the crew with the 4K cam links, the stream decks, and all so that we can work remotely and safely. That is the key in this summer split. But now, on behalf of myself, the casters, the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you for watching. We'll see you over on twitch.tv/Bud Light for the Bud Light League Lounge. And for the rest of you, good night. We'll see you next week.